you guys. That was a nice introduction about a lot of the work that I did before kind of this new experience started. And I'm really happy to be here with you today to share that with you, but also what I've been doing recently. And when I say that I'm happy to be here, this is really special for me because I live and work in Houston now. I'm based at the Johnson Space Center. And it's very rare that I have the opportunity to come back to Canada to speak to people, and it's even rarer for me to be able to speak to a room full of women. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. So I feel very inspired being here today, and hopefully I can share a bit of my journey with you. It's wonderful to be here with you today. So thank you for having me, first of all. So I'm one of Canada's 2 newest astronauts, and I was selected to be an astronaut this past summer. I was announced in July along with my colleague Joshua Kutrick. On Canada Day we were announced actually, and since then I've moved to Houston to start my training, and this is actually my first trip back to Canada to be able to share that with people. I want to talk a little bit about achievement today, and what you need in order to achieve whatever you want. I know we've heard a little bit about that today. This was a wonderful kind of introduction that was given leading into what I'm going to speak about. But I want to start by speaking about space. When I think of achievement, I think of space, and I know that's not where everyone goes to, but if you think about what we've done, it is unreal. We went to the moon. That means that we built a rocket the size of a skyscraper, put it together with the precision of a watch, we accelerated it to the speed of a bullet, and we sent it 250,000 miles away. And we brought everyone back. And the technology that came out of that is phenomenal. We have an International Space Station 400 kilometers above the Earth, which has been there for decades. It's an outpost. There's been a human presence there that entire time. And what we've learned from that is water purification technologies that we've brought to remote communities on Earth. We have communication technologies that allow us to link up better on Earth. Everything that we've learned, we've brought back. It's just an extension of our home. And that's phenomenal to me, the fact that we've achieved so much. We didn't even know it was possible. Everything that we achieve that we think is impossible, everything that we reach for that's just outside of our grasp now, changes what the next generation thinks is impossible. Every hill that we climb, they see a new mountain that they want to climb. And that's really important to me. We don't do these things because they're easy, we know that. We don't do them because they're even hard anymore. We do them because we thought they were impossible. And when we do, we change lives. And that's really special. It was really special to me. I'll get into that in a second. I started off on my little small pocket of space exploration, which I've just started that journey. I'm a rookie. And my journey started, in a lot of ways, the way that most journeys starts, when you go to space, with a rocket. Not this rocket. This is called the Soyuz rocket. This is the Russian rocket that we currently fly on to go to space. Soyuz means union in Russian. Not this rocket. This is a rocket that we're going to fly on in the future. This is a SpaceX rocket, but this rocket. So this is a rocket that I made when I was 3 or 4 years old, and I first wanted to be an astronaut. And I made this rocket because of someone named Roberta Bondar. Roberta Bondar is Canada's first female astronaut. And she flew when I was this old on the space shuttle out of NASA. She was the first neuroscientist in space, and she was so inspiring. She was so inspiring. My mom, also another wonderful woman, made sure I knew about this. I was so fortunate to have that. And from then on, I wanted to be a scientist. This is me. You can tell it was like the same era, my artistic era, by those streaks. I wanted to be a scientist. I knew that I wanted to explore, I wanted to discover new things. This is going to be a big part of my life, even from this age. And my interest kind of shifted from space to other types of science, but I knew I wanted to be a scientist. So I became a scientist. This is me in my undergraduate degree. I was actually a mechanical engineer, but engineering is just applied science. It's just using science to help people, which is another thing that I really wanted to do. And here I'm on a microgravity flight. So you go in this plane, and you do a parabola, and at the top of the parabola, kind of at the top of an elevator, you feel really, really light, but that lightness lasts for 40 seconds, and you float. You're in a microgravity environment. And this is really what started me on this research path. This was funded by the Canadian Space Agency, and we were looking at how flames behaved in microgravity. And I'll show you a video of this flame. Don't worry about the details. This is a video of this flame that I studied that's going to propagate across the screen, and you'll see it flash back. It's actually iron dust, the fuel. It was a new concept. It's really cool. but it's just beautiful. How does that work? I thought this was incredible when I did this experiment. And I knew that I'd found what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I finished my undergraduate degree. I moved to England to pursue a PhD. I did my PhD and I became a professor and combustion scientist, And I thought, again, okay, this is it. I love what I do. I'm discovering new things. I'll do it forever. And then things changed a little bit when the Canadian Space Agency announced that they were recruiting new astronauts. That happened last summer, just over a year ago now, year and a half.
Curiosity fuels discovery. What's beyond the yard? Around the corner? Across the border? Above the horizon? What's beyond that? Brilliant minds from around the world work together to imagine the future. They use science and technology as tools. Obstacles lead to innovation, but only a select few fly to space. Astronauts. They are problem solvers. Scientists. They are dedicated. Fearless. When their bodies want to quit, their spirit sends fire to their step. They are determined. Resilient. Where is the finish line? There is none. Astronauts train hard and charge into the unknown. They will have to adapt. To experiment.
I feel a lot of water on the back of my head.
To survive.
I experienced what it's like to be a goldfish in a fishbowl from the point of view of the goldfish.
Do you have what it takes? It will take everything you've got.
So this was the video that was released by the Canadian Space Agency. It's sort of an ad to get people to apply. And I saw it and I thought, whoa, it just all came back. That rocket, Roberta Bondar, my dream when I was little. And I hadn't revisited that for a very long time. But I also thought, wow, that looks really hard. Like, the things that were in that video were clips from the last recruitment campaign, where the two astronauts that you saw in that video, David St. Jacques and Jeremy Hansen, were selected. And I was not fearless. I didn't think I could do it. I was like, wow, this looks like an exceptional opportunity. But I didn't expect that it would take me this far. To go into a bit more of the details of what's needed to become an astronaut, they have this sort of list online. And there are some qualifications that you probably know about. You have to be healthy to fly in space. You have to have an education, preferably in math, science, engineering, or medicine. It has to be technical. It's a very technical operator job. And you have to be experienced. And I had those things. Oh, okay, I'm kind of healthy. I'm an engineer. I have some experience. I've been working for a little while. I could do those things. Then they had this more detailed list. You had to have good judgment. You had to have integrity. You had to have good reasoning skills. You had to be able to work in a team, incredibly important for space travel. It is a teamwork job, an international collaboration. There are thousands of people working on this. To be able to communicate, speak to the public, share what you're doing. You have to be motivated, and you have to be resourceful. You have to be able to solve problems. So again, this list, I was like, an engineer sounds like some, I don't know if I meet this criteria, but there were some things that were not on the list, and they were incredibly important. These are the most important things that I think that you need, regardless of whether you want to be an astronaut or do something else, whatever you want to do. You need to be confident, and you need passion. I was passionate. I loved what I did. I loved exploring. We've already gone over that, but I wasn't confident. I definitely didn't think that this was the job I was going to end up in. I thought this was an incredible experience that I wanted to be a part of. But that confidence was something that I had to build. I'm going to talk about this today. And seeing this paired with the Canadian astronauts that I knew came before me, there are Canadian astronauts who have been to space. You probably know this guy, Chris Hadfield, with his guitar in space. But there are also some other exceptional people that inspired me. I've spoken about one of them already. One is Roberta Bondar. You can see her Second from my right, she was Canada's first female astronaut, again, first neuroscientist in space, and she was very inspiring to me. My mom made sure I knew about that because that was important. That was incredibly important. And after that, we had Julie Payette. Julie Payette flew on shuttle missions as well. She's now our Governor General. She's an incredible woman. Both of these women are incredible and incredibly inspiring. They did so much. I didn't think I was in a league with these women. I still don't think that I am, but the fact that they existed and that they did this is the entire reason that I built that rocket and that I'm here now. And then the recruitment campaign started. And the first test was fitness testing. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do some running to prep. But I was not prepared for what fitness testing meant for the Canadian Space Agency. We spent about a week at an Army base. It was like a boot camp. There was a lot of swim testing. I'm wearing the number 8 cap there. They didn't let you sleep that much. There were technical tests in between the physical tests. You went on for hours and hours. You were in a team. You had psychologists evaluating you. I was not prepped for that. A few of my colleagues doing some of the tasks we had to do. It was just nonstop. Push and push and push because they want to see how you do in a stressful situation. And I did it. I made lots of mistakes, but I was like, I'll do it. And then afterwards, I was like, that was fun. Not sure I'm going to get a call back. Made lots of mistakes. But I did. I got a call back. I wasn't expecting it. And that was the moment where it changed for me, where I was like, if I can go through the hardest thing I have ever done, and it was hard. I was not expecting it to be that hard. It was hard. If I can go through that and get a call back, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing and see how it goes. Just keep doing it. And my confidence slowly began to build. And if I had backed myself from the beginning, I would have made my life a lot easier. And who knows how good that assessment center could have been. I could have learned so much more if I wasn't worried all the time and didn't think that I belonged there. The second assessment center was a survival assessment center. They just stress you out as much as you can. You have to jump. We'll watch a video in a second that kind of explains a bit of background on it. You jump from this 10-meter high diving board into this storm-simulated pool. It's really cold. You have to swim around, and then they make you do something that's so delicate and dexterous and difficult. And you're so cold. It was way harder than it looks. In this video, it just looks like I'm trying real hard. I am. And a lot of technical tasks as well. So it's just this all-encompassing stress test for a couple of days. But you know what? I had enough confidence from the first round that it was a lot easier. Backing yourself is so important. So important. I'm going to play a video now, which is about my experience in the recruitment process. It's always kind of weird to watch yourself in a video. But I think it gives a very good bit of background on what the challenges of that recruitment process and what it was to me.
I think I'm well qualified to be an astronaut, mainly from my scientific expertise. So I'm an experimentalist, which means that I have a lot of careful planning and scientific ability associated with my job, and I think that's going to help me a lot if I am selected to be an astronaut. And I also do a lot of public speaking as a lecturer and a lot of outreach as well. I'm an engineer, which means that I try and improve people's lives through applied science. I think my favorite part of the selection process so far has been meeting all the other candidates. Well, it's pretty general, but really it is my favorite part. So these Canadians have been with me throughout the selection process, and they've been incredible. So I'd never have an opportunity to meet this person who studies satellites or these exceptional people from the military, and this process, getting a chance to be in a team with them, has been definitely a highlight for me.
So those were a couple of things that I really didn't think were possible for me. But in the end, this is where I ended up. Again, I can't stress that passion enough. Find something that you love to do. It doesn't matter if there is no one like you doing that. It just means you're going to disrupt that industry even more and do even more. So do it. And work really hard at it. If you love it, you'll keep doing it. You'll get really, really good at it. And then back yourself. So I became one of our new astronauts along with Joshua Kutrick. There's my colleague on my right in that picture. And we joined the 2 other current astronauts in the Corps, Jeremy Hansen on the far left, and then David St. Jacques in the middle with me. David is our next Canadian Space Agency astronaut to fly in space. He'll be launched off of the Soyuz rocket in November or December. It's incredibly exciting for us. Imagine what we're going to learn. Now, my days are spent doing more things that I never thought that I'd do. And it is constantly challenging, but I need that confidence to kind of provide base. I spend a lot of time flying in a supersonic jet, and this provides very, very good practice. You have to think very, very quickly. You can't make that many mistakes, and if you do, you have to handle them calmly. And training for disaster management, what happens if something does go wrong. This is a picture of the jet that I fly in. It's called the T-38. And that's very good practice for spaceflight training, and you have 2 cockpits. So I'm in there with another pilot, and we're working together the whole time to get our mission done. I spent a lot of time learning about the International Space Station. I'm basically back in school. I learned about the International Space Station. There I'm working on an airlock with one of my colleagues, Frank, and learning about the suit that we do spacewalks in. And that International Space Station is this. This is incredible. This is just such an achievement to keep this in orbit for this long. And on top of that, this was actually told to me by a colleague recently, if you think about what this is, all the modules on that space station were built in different parts of the world, in different countries, and they flew them up there, and they had to fit perfectly. There's no room for error in space. And we did that. That international collaboration was incredible. And that was at a time when it wasn't expected. Collaborating with Russia was not allowed. It wasn't done in any other industry, and we did it in space. It's amazing. And then another aspect of my training is working in the spacesuit. The spacesuit is a big challenge, working in a pressurized suit. It's less of a suit and more a spacecraft you're maneuvering yourself. You're just the only crew, captain, passenger. And eventually I'll be training in a very, very deep pool called the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at NASA. There's my colleague Jeremy in the pool, and we do that because it mimics the buoyancy that you feel in space. You're kind of weighed out so that you kind of float around, and they have a mock-up of the International Space Station you work on. And eventually, hopefully, that will be to fly in space. Again, imagine what we're going to learn. Another really wonderful part of my job is speaking to people like you. So it's great to spend time with my core and come to Canada and discuss space with people. Because again, I really believe that that inspiration is important. Yes, space is hard, yes, space is expensive, but what we get out of it is so big. And I hope that you keep a piece of that with you as well, because I certainly did. And it motivated me, regardless of whether I became an astronaut or not, to do so much. It was a big part of my life, and I kind of realized that. I'm not sure I recognize the impact of that, certainly not when I was really little, but I recognize it now. We spent a lot of time speaking to Canadians and speaking at conferences with the hope that we can share this with everybody, because if we thought going to the moon was impossible, building a space station is impossible, and we've done those things, again, we're just making mountains ahead of us visible to the next generation. And I really do believe, if not in my lifetime, in the next generation, we will go to Mars, certainly. And imagine what we can learn about a planet like that that's going to help people here. We can bring so much technology back and so much inspiration back, and I think that that will be truly incredible. And that is the entire purpose of all of this. And even when I speak about this, I'm preaching to the choir here, because you guys know how important inspiration is, and confidence is, and passion is. You guys have that. You already know. Hopefully I can just provide a little bit of extra encouragement. So thank you for having me today. That's all I wanted to share with you.